first to join me in congratulating everybody who's spoken so far. They've been amazing, from Collins, English. The reason we are considered one of the best universities in the country is that we have great students and an unbelievably talented group of faculty and staff. I'm going to ask them to stand, and I'm going to ask you to give them a standing ovation. The faculty. Amazing community. I am beginning with an email I received at 1:26 this morning from a student who's a part of a very special group of young people who are a part of something called IQ. Where are they? Stand up if you are a part of IQ. Stand up, let us see. Give them a hand. But this is what I want you to know. I'm not going to even tell you what IQ is. They're going to tell you. Ask them what group they are a part of. But this is the first thing I want to say. I asked them yesterday to give me some advice about what I might say to the freshmen, the different scholars groups, the different community groups that are here, and they gave me some great advice, and one person wrote an email, and I wanted you to know that the messages they gave me, and the provost was listening, were exactly the messages you heard from a wonderful faculty member, from all the people on the staff today. When Terry was speaking and you were laughing, he was telling you about the wisdom of the president of student government. And by the way, Colin Hrabowski was the best student regent we've ever seen in Maryland. Give Colin a big hand for that. And what I said to those students, your colleagues, freshmen, tell me what you think I should talk about tomorrow. As I talk, I want you to hear what they said and think about the messages from other people, which reaffirms things you know. What we're telling you are not things you don't know. The things that you thought about, things that you consider important, but sometimes hearing them from different people in different ways can be very helpful. They said to challenge yourselves, and I should make it clear, it's important to challenge yourself, to broaden yourself beyond your comfort zone, to get to know people different from yourself, to keep an open mind, to be ready to help other people, to look for connections across disciplines. It was amazing to hear them, my colleagues, to hear students talking about understanding. You can really understand connections across disciplines, but also connections across people from different kinds of backgrounds. So the importance of networking. Someone said, take responsibility for your mistakes. If you make a mistake, just tell people you're sorry and move ahead. Others talked about starting to look for internships and research experiences as soon as possible. You heard this when they said, don't be afraid to ask for help. Everyone needs help at some point. To appreciate that this is different from high school, to show interest in your classroom and teachers. And they said, get to know your professors. Find out your professor's story. Someone said, you know, when you know something about a professor as a human being, it makes all the difference in the world. You will find our colleagues are here today to say to you, we are welcoming you. We know you are extremely bright. We connect with you. We will share our stories. And so last night, I got this amazing email, and I just want to read a few sentences. I had asked the students this question. I gave them a quote from Robert Browning, "Oh, that a man's reach should exceed his grasp," or "What's a heaven for?" And I said, when you get a chance, tell me what you think it means. Tell me why you think I asked you about that quote. He said many things, but a part that was so fascinating, Professor Brown, you'll appreciate this. They stayed up last night talking. But this is what he said. For about 2 hours last night, everybody on my floor in Patapsco Hall got together in our study room to hang out and chat. And before we knew it, we were getting into really deep discussions about race and education and the challenges our future generation faces that others may not have faced. And we began looking at our lives in high school. And one thing we seemed to have in common, this was very interesting, faculty, was that we all realized we really hadn't reached our fullest potential. That we had an opportunity now, because this is a new world from high school, to keep open minds and to put ourselves in a situation where we can go to the next level. And then it said this, and I kept laughing early this morning. He said, from the day that you got here, he said, when you unpacked your things on Saturday, when we unpacked our things on Saturday, to the next couple of weeks, we get a very special, a rare opportunity. We get to decide who we want to be. Some of us, it said, someone may have been a jerk in high school, or a jock, or someone different from who you want to be today. He said, but today you get a chance to think about exactly who you want to be, and that's who everybody will know you as. And so his message to me was that somehow all of you have the chance right now to think about the possibilities, to dream about who you want to be, and to shape that image into reality. Convocation, in Latin, the word actually means coming together. At UMBC, this is a special time when we do just that. We come together to welcome you. I was telling the students yesterday that they were smart, and somebody said, you know, it feels good to be told I was smart. Well, let me tell you something. Everybody in here is very smart. Give yourselves a hand. You are very smart. And while you may not have worked as hard as you will come to work, you have worked harder than a lot of your classmates in high school. A lot of people were working to get into UMBC, unfortunately didn't make it. You've got a lot of valedictorians, salutatorians, straight A students, a lot of AP credits. All of you, though, came here because you know it is a serious university. This is a place where you can have a good time. You're going to talk about extracurricular activities, but it's also a place where you'll be involved in research. You'll be looking at redesigned courses. You'll have service learning. You've got living learning floors. You've got intellectual competitions and the Baja competition and cybersecurity and ethics bowl and chess, all kinds of things. This is a place where literally 50% of all of the Division I athletes earned above a 3.0 last year. Give all of our athletes a big hand. It's important that you have some sense of who we are as a university, and it's always important to know one's history. Most other institutions in America were founded at a time when institutions were segregated. If you were white, you went to one institution. If you were black, you went to another. And there were all of these segregated institutions. And yet, during the 60s, a period when your parents were in college, the fact is, or sometimes in middle school, I guess, for your parents, they're really young, right? The fact is that there was the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, and it was a time of tragedy. President Kennedy was killed. I'll never forget that. 1963, I'm going to talk about. It was a very special time. And in that same period, in the 60s, you had churches being bombed, little girls were killed in my city, my friends. And everybody was fighting, not knowing what was going to happen. You had all kinds of tragedies, from Reverend King dying to the Kennedy dying. But at the same time, when all of that turmoil, all of a sudden, you had the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Higher Education Act. And for the first time, America was saying, let's bring people of all types together and give them a chance to get to know each other and to build the strength of our country by giving everybody opportunities. Well, amazingly, here we sit today because UMBC was founded right after all of that happened, right in the midst of it, in fact, in 1966. And the progress we have made as a country as a result of that period is that we've gone from only 10% of Americans with a college degree to 30% with a college degree. And the challenge is to keep moving those numbers up. People who are over 35 in America are the most educated people in the world, with the exception of two countries, people in Canada and people in Israel. But we're third. But when you go beyond 35, if you go to the age 25 to 34, that group goes down to rank number 15. Because other countries are making more progress than we are. And we are saying, as a nation, as we attract people from around the world, that we want to see more of our students becoming educated. And the real challenge is that half of the students who begin college don't graduate. This is the challenge that we face. You know, when I was in college, the dean said, look at the student to your left, look at the student to your right, and then he said, one of you will not graduate. Well, if I'm at all insecure, I'm going to say, oh my goodness, he's talking about me, not going to do well, so I may as well apply this year because I'm out of here anyway next year. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But what we say at UMBC, and I want you to follow my instructions, look at the student to your left, look at the student to your right. Our goal is to make sure all three of you graduate, and if you don't, we fail, and we don't plan to fail, and I know you know. Give yourself a hand for graduating. Today, I was delighted when one of our professors from psychology, Professor Catania, came by and he brought me a copy of his new edition of a book entitled Learning. And there was a quote in the book that was fitting so well with what I'm telling you right now, and it's what you heard others say today. In the book, he says this: what the student does is what the student learns. Let me say that again. What the student does is what the student learns. Students are not vessels into which knowledge is to be poured. And his point is this: you have the power to shape your education. This is why Professor Brown was talking about going to class and doing your homework. The idea is that you will be the ones to determine how well you do. I have no doubt that you will do superbly. Yesterday, many of you participated in the new student book experience, and this book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, an amazing book, not only about scientific and medical miracles, but about this intersection of race and poverty and medical ethics. Many of you will go into fields from philosophy to medicine, where you'll be studying these kinds of questions that will come up for the rest of your lives. But the book experience is designed to push you intellectually and to get you thinking about how you consider things right and wrong and the process you use and why it's important to study the arts and humanities and social sciences so you can put these challenges in perspective. Some of you are a bit nervous right now. Let me ask you this. How many of you know what you're going to major in? How many of you are not sure? It's okay not to be sure. And many of you who are majoring in one thing may change it slightly. Give yourselves time. Keep an open mind. You will be amazed. How many of you have looked at the courses you have to take in the general education program? Have you looked at them? How many of you know those courses are really important? You know, often I'll hear students saying, well, I got to get these courses out of the way so I can get to my major. I don't think there's anything I can say academically that's more important than the fact that this program we have for you, this general education program, is designed to broaden you, to have you well-grounded in the humanities and the social sciences, to get you to think about the big questions of the day. What does it mean to be an educated human being in the 21st century? What does it mean to be one of the most powerful nations in the world? How should we treat other countries? What does it mean to be on a campus with students from 150 countries? How do we get to know these people? How do we learn from them as they learn from me? And this is all about a liberal education. What precisely do we mean by liberally educated? The word liberal comes from the Latin adjective liber, meaning free. The word education comes from both the Latin verb duco, meaning to lead, and the prefix e, which means out of. And so a liberal education means the free act of leading out of. But most of us would say it means a liberal education is associated with free people. In old times, it was unlike servants or slaves, a person who had the time to cultivate intellect. And today we often say liberal education is education for its own sake. You want to know because you dare to know. Because when you know more, you understand more about the world. One of my heroes and a mentor of mine was the president of Dartmouth, the late James Freeman, who, to the graduating class, his last year's president, said this: a liberal education that lasts a lifetime will inspire you to strengthen the foundation of your moral identity and to explore the ordeal of being human, the drama of confronting the darker side of the self, the responsibility of imposing meaning on your life and society, the challenge of transcending the ambiguity-entangled counsel of arrogance and modesty, egotism and altruism, emotion and reason, opportunism and loyalty, individualism and conformity. You know, when you were in the 12th grade, people thought of you as teenagers, boys and girls, getting ready to go to college. But now you're young college men and women. You are students, you are scholars. If you talk to your professors, they will tell you they and I are all students and scholars. We are studying all the time. When somebody is writing a book, when they're working on a project, when they're working in a lab, when they're studying theatrical production and determining interpretation, they are students. And so we are inviting you to come to us as just that, students. Now, it turns out that the professors really do know not only how to learn, but how to teach you to learn. Our challenge is to support you, to inspire you to think about the questions of your life. Hrabowski, a Nobel laureate, said that when he was growing up in New York, all of his friends' parents would often ask them at the end of a school day, "What did you learn in school today?" He said, "But not my Jewish mother. My Jewish mother would say, 'Izzy, did you ask a good question today?'" And he said, the practice of our encouraging his curiosity made him the thinker he became. Well, that's what we're going to get you to do. We're going to ask you to ask good questions. One of the students said yesterday, tell them there's no such thing as a stupid question. Just get it out there, ask it, and think about it, and keep bringing yourself to do that. And that's why so many of our students are this year graduating, going on from Harvard to Stanford to NYU to Penn to Hopkins to the Maryland Medical and Law School. You name the place, to the NYU school, Tisch School. One of our students, I was really proud of him, wonderful young man who competed against 900 people for 16 slots in the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU. It's as good as you get in theater. And out of 900 people, he was selected as one of those 16 kids, beating out a lot of kids from Yale. Give UMBC Theater a hand for being passionate about your work. I want you to get involved. I want you to go in and get involved in the study sessions. That's what IQ is about. It's about learning how to work in groups, because we want all of you to work in groups. Go to the performances. You're going to find it amazing that with this new Performing Arts and Humanities building, give that building and the faculty who will be there a big hand. It's going to be a theatrical performances. You can be in New York right on our campus. When you see that there are performances, just get in there. You will be transformed. It's like going around the world and staying on this campus. Get involved in other activities. You know, the UMBC Review and Bottle Wheel, the two very prestigious undergrad research journals on this campus, and the student government and the retreat of learning. You're going to see all of this. The president of the student government told you. You're going to have a chance to get involved. Everybody, when young, can be a little shy. It's okay. How many of you would admit you're just a bit shy? Tell the truth. It's all right to be shy. How many of you would be comfortable right now getting up and speaking to the whole group? You see? Very nice. But the rest of you will get there because you learn to do by doing. This is your new home. You know, the one thing I want you to think about is this, and I bring this up every year. It's important to balance your new freedom with a heightened sense of responsibility. Every year, listen to this. This is as serious as I can ever be. Every year, while under the influence of alcohol, more than 1,800 college students die. 5 per day. Take this entire group, add 600 or so more to it, and you've got 18-year-olds, 22-year-olds dying because of alcohol. In fact, it says here, nearly 600,000 are accidentally injured, 700,000 are assaulted by another student under the influence, 100,000 are victims of alcohol-related sexual assault or date rape, and approximately 1 out of every 4 students will report that drinking has hurt them academically. And so while it may seem the cool thing to do to get drunk, I'm telling you, every weekend I get a call that means a student has almost or has already been taken to the hospital. Because if someone is inebriated and goes to sleep, that person can die in children. It is as serious. It may seem like a fun thing, but I'm telling you, please, you are older than you think you are. And you will be given a great deal of freedom. You are the most amazing freshman class UMBC has ever had. You're the largest and most amazing class. Grades, achievements, artistic accomplishments. I want you to take full advantage of this environment and to know how much we believe in you. But I want you to look in the mirror and realize you are older than you think you are. You know, this is the beginning of this 2012-13 academic year. 50 years ago, I could never have imagined looking at a group like you. 50 years ago, there was not a group looking like you anywhere in America. It would not have been possible for you to sit with people different from yourselves, to talk about learning and studying and loving each other and caring about what happens with the ideas as we discuss them. I was beginning my 9th grade year. I skipped a couple of grades. I was 11. At this point, I was turning 12. And I was going to the 9th grade, and I was a fat little nerd, loving math. It never would have occurred to me that during this year, before the year was out, that I would hear a man saying that if children get involved in the civil rights movement, we can get them to better schools. And the first thought I had was, it would mean that I could for the first time, maybe not have hand-me-down books from the white kids. Maybe not be in an environment where people said I wasn't as good as other people. Maybe be able to drink out of a water fountain or go to the bathroom. And it was so strange because all of my life I had been told by the outside world that I was second class. While my parents and my church and my teachers said, Freeman, believe in yourself. You are a human being. You are a child of God. You can do anything. Believe in yourself. But when he said we could get involved, I said, I want to go. And so I marched with Dr. King and these children 50 years ago. I went to jail and had a horrible time for 5 days. And in the middle of that experience, Dr. King came with our parents. And we were looking out the bars, and he said, what you do this day will have an impact on children yet unborn. Well, here you sit today with opportunities to do anything. As Dan said, the young man who wrote that email, Dan, if you're in the room, first, would you please stand? I wanted you to stand. Are you here? Stand here. Give him a hand. And when I heard you saying that you were talking about education and race, and when you were saying yesterday, people were saying to me yesterday, I've never been in such a diverse environment. I've not known what it meant to be around. And they said, we have to learn how to get to know people from other backgrounds. I was so deeply moved. I couldn't help but think, 50 years ago, people were working so that you could sit here today. So this place could be a concept for America at its very best. And that is who we have become. And so I want you to remember this. The Breaking Ground program that we have at UMBC now focuses on civic engagement. It's your chance to be involved in changing the world. Get involved in that exercise, breaking ground, because it means you years from now will be the person somebody says, you were involved in an effort that did just that. When people come across the stage, they tell me what they plan to do, and there's nothing more significant than when a young person looks me in my eyes and says, Doc, I plan to change the world. If I can go from being a fat little kid at 12 who had no idea about the possibility of this existing, imagine what you can do in the decades ahead as you lead the world, as you transform us to a better place for so many children who have not had what you've had to get here today. And so I challenge you, young people, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Your character has everything to do with who you are, not only when people can see you, but what do you do when you don't think anybody else is watching? There is your character. So thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, habits become character.